Welcome to Order Militarist Radio TV. We are here. We here are lifelong Catholics, and what we do here is all for free. In love of Jesus Christ, the Most Holy Trinity, and His Holy Church, and will defend our Holy Mother, the Church. Our work is the true sense of apostolate. Any funds raised goes back into this work for equipment. This helps us to give you an unbiased, hard-hitting truth that is not controlled by political correctness or interest groups. And today we're going to be covering, is it a true ceasefire or a fake ceasefire? And who are the background players of all these folks? And we welcome Brother Alexis Bonanno to the show.
So it's great to be on Order Radio Militarist TV. AJ, thank you for having me back to talk about the war in Nagorno-Karabakh, also known as the Artsakh Republic. And most people think it's part of Armenia, but it's technically an independent republic of Armenian people. So the great news today is Putin.
Yeah, Putin got him to the table yesterday for, looks like about 10 hours of talking. They came out with a ceasefire, supposed to happen at noon, their time. And from all reports, Azerbaijan hasn't stopped. They're shelling some parts of the borders of Armenia with Artsakh, and also attacking some towns in Artsakh to just see what they can grab with the other parts of the peace of the ceasefire agreement.
It seems incredible that they would spend all this time, the Azerbaijanis would spend all this time promising through their foreign minister and their president a ceasefire and then not acting on it. What do you think? They're trying to take advantage of the Armenians and get an advantage in the war?
I say so. From latest Azerbaijan Ministry of Defense tweets are saying our efforts in our continual attacks are to continue to drive the Armenians out of Artsakh and reclaim the stolen property.
So what they mean by a ceasefire agreement is that the Armenians should cease fire and they can keep firing. This is, I hate to say it so much like Muslims, but they don't know that if you break your promise to a Christian, you're going to get a Christian upset. We expect you to keep your word.
Yeah.
What do you think? I think they're playing with fire here. They have just made an enemy of Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
They've played him in front of the entire world.
And yeah, and if Russia does decide to flex their muscles, I know somewhat of their military technology from watching a pretty awesome series of shows yesterday that we'll cover in the future for next Tuesday on the Christian party stuff. But let's just say they have some awesome technology for their Spetsnaz special forces soldiers that make sure if they do get shot, they heal quickly.
I'm beginning to think that Turkey's chess move of moving terrorists from Syria and Afghanistan to Azerbaijan was not intended to give Azerbaijan an advantage in their war against Armenia. I think it is a geopolitical move against Russia. Because what can Russia, if Russia now starts upping the war, Azerbaijan can easily release that terrorist force across the border into Russia itself. And then, the terrorists serve to be like leverage. And Russia, if Russia were to invade Azerbaijan, it looks like Turkey would try to turn Azerbaijan into a second Afghanistan, which and so what is Turkey playing at here? I think what Turkey's playing at here is the destabilization of the Armenian government and the destabilization of the whole area, so then they can move in as saviors with their army and take both Armenia, Artsakh, and Azerbaijan.
Yeah. There's no clear way of, I mean, they've lied to Putin. They embarrassed him on a world stage. Because now they're making sure that everything that they do now is public information through their Twitter accounts, saying what they're actually doing since this agreement. So now they're willy-nilly sharing, oh yes, we are attacking here, attacking here, attacking here. Just to reclaim the lands of Artsakh. But you're supposed to...
So they broke information silence to actually make it clear to the world that they embarrassed Putin to his face. They're leaving no doubt about it that they're slapping him in the face. It's not just rumor from the Armenian side that the war is going on.
Oh yeah, it's now Azerbaijan tweeting. I was like, that's new.
This looks like it's being organized out of the Pentagon. There's just too much high-level maneuvering going on here. Azerbaijan doesn't have this kind of intelligence. I mean, they don't have this kind of pluck, I don't think. And
yeah,
don't they realize how close they're moving the world towards World War, Third World War here?
Yeah. So we've pretty much figured it's all this coming from the Pentagon and the Israeli Defense Force and all their whatever they're called over there, because they're helping them with their weapons. And we know Oklahoma National Guard's helping Azerbaijan, which means the army knows about it. So yeah, it's pretty much a Western controlled conflict. And now there is one man who's one of the top political leaders of the Artsakh Republic that I found very interesting. I think a day or two ago when we were looking up his education. That is Artak Begalaryan. He's the man in charge of the Human Rights Division of Artsakh. He's going to the University College of London with a PhD candidate in political science there. He also went to Fletcher School. Now you're like, what's Fletcher School?
Right, so the University of London and Fletcher School. Now the University of London is Rockefeller network completely. We already talked about that in our Margaret Sanger show and our show on the Scamdemic. But the Fletcher School, I have to admit that I haven't heard about the Fletcher School. So what is the Fletcher School? Where is it? Who funded it?
Okay. This gets kind of strange, folks. It was founded in 1933 with the bequest of Austin Barclay Fletcher, We'll get into this guy. And it's on the Tufts University in Medford, Massachusetts.
Okay, so it's like a special school attached to Tufts. And what does it specialize in?
It is, let's see here. Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy. Deep state stuff.
So it was founded in 1933, and it's at Tufts. I've lived in the Boston area many years during my life, and I have never heard of this school. So it's not like it has any high profile. But so I don't know how anyone in Armenia would even know about it existing.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're studying at the University in London, maybe that's where they heard about it. So why is it called the Fletcher School, and who was Fletcher? And does this have any connection, let us say, maybe with Masonic banks in New York City?
Yeah. So, Austin Barclay Fletcher, born March 13th, 1852 in London, Massachusetts, to descendants of an early settler of the Massachusetts Bay Colony. During his youth, his family moved to Franklin, where his parents had supervision of the boarding department of Dean Academy. Fletcher entered the Universalist Chartered Co-Educational Preparatory School. What a name. And is considered to be a feeder for Tufts College. So a feeder, think of it like minor leagues in sports.
But you said it was a Universalist congregational preparatory school.
Yep.
Well, the Universalists, most people don't know that New England is the Congregational Church, but they had a big argument in the 19th century on whether they were going to remain Christian or not, because there was some of them that wanted to admit the Trinity, and they're called the Orthodox Congregationalists or the Trinitarian Congregationalists, and those who wanted to deny the Trinity and just accept one God, and they're the Masonic branch that gets involved in all kinds of evil, devious stuff, and they call themselves Universalist.
Here we go. So you got into the theater school, that which would then send him on to Tufts College in 1867. After attending the academy for 3 years, Fletcher moved on to Wilbraham Academy for matriculating at Tufts in 1872. He obtained a BA from the college in 1876. Okay, that's 4 years. Returned to Dean Academy to teach oratory. He later taught at Boston University and Brown University. During this time, he published 2 books on the subject of oratory. Fletcher continued his studies at Boston University Law School, receiving the LLB in 1879 and an MA in 1880. Fletcher began practicing law in New York City in 1882, spending the remainder of his life there and serving as counsel for many large corporations and trustees of several substantial estates. He eventually became president and primary stockholder of the prominent law firm Eppinger and Russell. In January 1882, Fletcher married Hortense M. Follett, who died in 1905.
So he married a woman in 1882. She died in 1905, but no record of him having any children. That's very strange for the 19th century.
So he's active in several organizations. He served as president of both New England Society of New York and the National Institution of Social Sciences. He's a trustee of Dean Academy and Boston University, and was also president of Fletcher Family Union, which had 10,000 enrolled members. Fletcher also a member of the Phi Beta Kappa Zeta Psi fraternity and he's a Knights Templar, which we know can't be because they were abolished.
But there's very kind of like fake organizations among the Protestants called Knights Templar. Most of them are Masonic, though.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of bad signs here. Work for a lot of the big corporations in New York and substantial family estates. Yeah. Okay. So, and what does he do after he's a lawyer? He goes on to
Left, he somehow gets rich. I mean, wealthy like you wouldn't believe. What was able to found this school. Then he meets it, one of his friends of a personal client, Henry J. Baker, bestowed $500,000 on the college after visiting the campus only once, and during the semi-centennial to hear Fletcher's speech. It had to be one heck of a speech.
there's a lot more behind that money, evidently. So he was at this time, president of the college?
Mm-hmm.
So it was his judge. So he was calling in some tickets, evidently.
Mm-hmm.
Stubs, I guess he'd say. And so he's president of the college from when to when? From the 20s to the 30s?
Let's see here. Let's get back. Okay, so it opened in 1933, and so it opened 10 years after he died, the Fletcher School, but I'm thinking he was the president of Tufts.
Okay, yeah, he was president of Tufts for a while. So the Fletcher School. So today it's a bit international business and law school,
Mm-hmm.
and the representative for human rights is for the Artas government, happens to be a graduate of that, is going on to the University of London, which we know strong Rockefeller contacts. We found another Rockefeller contact with Artsakh Republic, didn't we?
Yeah. Tell him.
There's this big organization that raises money for sustainable development in the Artsakh Republic.
Mm-hmm.
And first I heard about it at the outbreak of the war. It had raised $17 million in like the last 10, 20 years for projects for sustainable development projects in the Artsakh Republic. You know, that means funding Marxist, communist, liberal organizations. And then a week later, they claimed they had exactly raised 70 million. Exactly, you know, it's like previously it was 17 million, like 65,410. Then it went to 70 million.
Mm-hmm.
And their webpage shows that they have bank accounts at Chase Manhattan.
Yep.
Which is the bank controlled by the
IG Farben.
IG Farben. They worked with Farben, but they're controlled actually by the Rockefeller family, who also controls the London School of Business. So I don't think this is a coincidence here.
Mm-mm.
There's some dirty fingerprints on what's going on here. We already showed that the Masons founded a lodge in 2006 in Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
So just with this little information we have, I say we have here in this war, I think this war has been organized by the Masonic Lodge, and they're playing both sides of it with people on both sides of it. And the first objective was to publicly embarrass Vladimir Putin.
Yep.
I think that was the real first objective. It had nothing to do with taking the Artsakh Republic.
So as we can finish up here, you can still see all the news about what's still going on. They're ramping up the suicide drones, which are the Israeli drones. The news has confirmed that the drones sent by Israel to Azerbaijan are being flown by the Turkish drone Air Force guys and hitting the Armenian tanks and trucks, and they took out a radar establishment too.
So the Israeli state is building military equipment, selling it to Muslims, who are then being used by Muslims to bomb Christians, and this is absolutely outrageous.
Yep.
Okay, this is ethnic cleansing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just like Israel is involved in the Western powers in the ethnic cleansing of Christians in Syria, and how the U.S. did nothing to prevent the ethnic cleansing of Christians in Iraq. This is the untold story of the last 20 years in the Middle East. It's not the war of terrorism, it's the war against Christians. Hidden in the details of the actual news.
Yep. So, since it's ongoing, stay tuned for further shows on this. As yeah, I don't think there was ever a ceasefire, even though they agreed on it, shook hands on it in Russia, and like.
Well, let's hope that Azerbaijan is only takes them a long while to communicate it to their frontline forces. I doubt that's the reason, but let's hope. Yeah. But let's pray. I think Vladimir Putin deserves international praise for having done an act of goodwill. He is a practicing Christian, and so he did the Christian thing, and now let's hopefully he makes a prudent response and doesn't overreact at this. I hope he understands now what's really going on, and if these are the motivations behind Azerbaijan and Turkey, then the Russia needs to realign its entire policy to what's going on there. I hate to say we might have more intelligence than the Russians, and maybe they just don't believe what's going on, or they're being threatened secretly by other reasons. But hey, Russia, if you organized a Christian foreign legion to go in and fight on the side of Armenia, you wouldn't have any more problems. You'd win international praise. The Azerbaijanis would get their butt kicked, and the Christians of the West would say, you know, Russia is not really the bad guy here.
Yep, totally agree. So stay tuned for our big show coming up after this on Robert E. Lee and all the constitutional arguments that he goes through about the start of the Civil War and whether Virginia should join the Confederate States or not.
Okay, thank you for having me on, AJ. I remind all the listeners who are watching our programs, Armenia, that our order has established a fund to help Armenians, and you can make a charitable donation and be dedicated to helping displaced and injured civilians, or you can invest with our PMC in Montana, in the United States, so that we can found another company in Armenia and conduct and offer security and defense services there that as might be needed, and help Christian volunteers who'd like to fight for Armenia have like a conduit for recruitment. And so you can go to ordo-militaris.us and go to the page Help Armenia, and there's the two ways you can help: by making a donation or buying stock in our corporation. I encourage you to that, because you can see that there's a serious malign intent here, and it's all directed against Christians. That's what's going on.
Okay. Getting lined up here. So, yeah, please be generous in giving. And if you are an investor, please invest. Go to ordo-militaris.us, and it's on the homepage in bold blue letters. Click the link there, and if you can do both, do both. If you can just donate, please donate. And this is Ordo Militaris Radio TV signing off. Day is full.
Day is full.